Live from downtown Vancouver at the Vancouver Film School campus, it's time for EP Live. Hey, welcome to EP Ed. I'm your host, Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool, and we are going to have an awesome EP Live today. We've got a great guest with us. Rod Fergusson is here from the Coalition. I'm so excited about that. We have a live event space that you can come and watch the show in person and come down and meet some of the guests that we bring through the show and play some of the games that we get to put up on these screens beside me, and we would love for you to do that. It's at 390 West Hastings Street in Vancouver, BC. Of course, the caveat is you have to be in Vancouver. But hello, everybody watching this on the internet. Thank you for taking the time this next hour and a bit to watch this episode and to learn a few things about cool things and to have some fun. We're going to dedicate this episode of EP Live to Albert Finney, who passed away, an incredible actor who has given us many fantastic performances. One of my favorites is in Miller's Crossing, the Coen Brothers classic. You have to watch that film. It's amazing. And also, I'm going to give a shout out to some new or renewed members. Walker, Texas Ranger, love your show. Chris Sampson, Spencer O, and Chris Koski, thank you so much for supporting EPN. Let's get started with your rundown. It's unclear if we'll ever get another Witcher game, but that hasn't stopped Geralt of Rivia from taking on another game franchise. Capcom has launched a new crossover event for Monster Hunter World that brings the Witcher hero Geralt into the game. He'll join forces with the Monster Hunter characters for new quests, complete with Witcher-inspired monsters, weapons, and gear. The event is available for free on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and will hit the PC soon. As for the Witcher games, it's unclear if developer CD Projekt Red will ever make another one following a legal dispute between them and franchise creator Andrzej Sapkowski. Did I get that right, Blake? Yeah? Oh my God. In the meantime, fans are getting a live-action Witcher show from Netflix starring Superman actor Henry Cavill. That lands later this year. I think CD Projekt Red and Andrzej Sapkowski are going to solve their issues, and we are absolutely going to see more Witcher games from CD Projekt Red. They have to get the awesome Cyberpunk game out first, but we are definitely going to see a lot more of Geralt of Rivia. I mean, we're seeing him in other games, so this character is, I think, an ever-present part of video game culture. They're not going to make that disappear. They're making a TV show right now, you know, with Henry Cavill, who looks a little bit weird in all the makeup and wigs he's got going on with that thing, but we'll see. Maybe it's going to be great. He's got the muscles, though. Have you guys seen that picture that he took with the Superman statue? It's like more muscles than the statue. It's kind of creepy. All right, the new Titanfall spin-off Apex Legends is turning into an even bigger hit than expected. Following the game's announcement and release earlier this week, Respawn Entertainment and EA have announced that it earned more than 10 million registered players in its first 72 hours. They had initially announced that it broke 1 million in its first day, so 10 million in 3 days is 10 times more impressive. That's some math for everybody out there. Apex Legends is a battle royale game similar to Fortnite or Battlegrounds, but set in the Titanfall universe. It marks the first big release since Respawn was purchased by EA earlier in 2017. And a little bit later on in the show, we're going to find out about the big announcement of the Gears battle royale mode that Rod's going to tell us all about, which is going to be awesome. Am I surprised by the success of this game? No, I'm not. I think people are definitely hungry and ready to try free-to-play experiences. We're seeing great success with companies testing things out there and just saying, do you want to do this? It was a nice way to reveal that, too. The surprise was cool. And the game is tight. It's fun to play. Respawn doesn't make bad things so far, knock on wood. And I'm excited to see what happens with this game. I definitely want to see Titanfall 3, and we've heard that Star Wars from them is coming out this year, and I've heard some great things about it that I can't tell you guys. But I'm super excited for Respawn. That's very, very big news, and they deserve it. It looks like Disney hasn't completely severed ties with Guardians of the Galaxy director James Gunn after all. Despite Disney's abruptly firing Gunn last year, the upcoming third film will still use his original script. That's according to Star-Lord himself, Chris Pratt, who tells MTV News that they're going forward with the Gunn script, which he completed before Disney fired him from the directing job. Several Guardians cast members like Dave Bautista threatened to quit if they didn't use the Gunn screenplay, so it appears Disney has been listening. All the cast members have publicly encouraged Disney to rehire Gunn as a director as well, so we'll let you know if the studio changes its mind. I mean, that's definitely step one on the right things to do. I think, Gunn has publicly apologized. All of the cast members have really rallied around him. I know it's a tough thing for a publicly traded company like Disney to kind of, make peace and make amends with something so controversial as what Gunn had tweeted previously, but I think for the good of the franchise and for a story of redemption, I think it makes a tremendous amount of sense, which is what I've said before the Guardians of the Galaxy storylines have all been about. These were completely awful characters that together became a force for good. And I think you could say that about, people building things sometimes. So, I think there's some analogies, some parables to be made there. And any way you slice it, Gunn is a tremendous filmmaker, and he made 2 fantastic Guardians movies. It's kind of, it is really sad if he's not going to be making the 3rd. All right, now after almost 8 years on store shelves, the Nintendo 3DS still has plenty of life in it. Nintendo plans to continue supporting the aging handheld device, despite the rise of the console handheld hybrid, the Switch. Company president Shuntaro Furukawa made the announcement while speaking with investors, saying that despite declining sales, the 3DS still has a place in the market and can exist at a lower price alternative to the Switch. That means we can expect new 3DS games, although how many and how big they'll be has yet to be determined. Nintendo had initially planned to begin phasing out the 3DS in 2017 before extending it into 2018, so now there's no telling how much longer it will be around. You know what? I've started to carry the 3DS around with me a little bit recently, and one of the main reasons why is that it will play a lot of my old DS games, which I feel we're moving so quickly in the game space, we kind of forget to look back sometimes and play some great titles that we may have skipped over. And I think it's pretty phenomenal that you can play not only the huge library of 3DS titles out there now, but also a great back catalog of DS cartridges. And there were some excellent games on that platform as well. So the 3DS is kind of like a link with this cartridge format that is going to go extinct when the 3DS finally is laid to rest. There's been some great experiences on this platform. But yeah, it's time for, I think, Nintendo to kind of shift its focus to the Switch for most of its game design and gameplay features, and make that a new sort of era of Nintendo where they're only thinking about one machine, which is going to be very good for all of us. All right, that's going to do it for the rundown. Now let's take a look at this day in everything cool. Welcome to This Day and Everything Cool for February 8th. On this day in 2005, it got a lot easier to know where you're going. Google launched their Google Maps to the public, making it easier to search for addresses or businesses and then get directions on how to get there. The trade-off is that Google Maps and similar apps make it easier for advertisers and other interested parties to track your whereabouts and know where you've been. On February 8th, 1932, one of the galaxy's greatest film composers was born, John Williams. He's best known for writing and conducting the music for the Star Wars movies, including all of their memorable themes, and he's also composed pretty much every Steven Spielberg movie, including Jaws, Indiana Jones, E.T., and Jurassic Park. More recently, Williams wrote the memorable main theme for the Harry Potter film series. Movies just wouldn't be the same without him. February 8th, 1999 was a big party day for Nintendo. The very first Mario Party game was released on the Nintendo 64 in North America, following its release in Japan a few weeks earlier. The games offer players a collection of fun mini-games designed to be played with large groups of people, emphasizing the social aspect of gaming that Nintendo is always trying to push with their games. It was obviously a huge hit. A sequel, Mario Party 2, followed less than a year later, and there have since been more than a dozen games in the series. Hey, there was one, now there's two. Rod Fergusson is here, he's the studio.
One and a half.
Here, you've got a cold.
I do have a cold.
I really appreciate you coming down, man, that's awesome. He is the studio head of the Coalition, and they've worked on some tiny little indie games.
Yeah.
Tiny. Gears of War 4, massive success, but everybody, of course, knows that you're working on Gears 5. And lots of cool things, actually.
Yeah, well, we got 3 games in the works right now. We have Gears Pop, which is our mobile game. Gears 5, our console game, and Gears Tactics, our PC game. So yeah, we're kind of broadening the franchise.
What has happened with the way that you've carved up the development team? Because you have been a one game sort of focused group, but now you've got all of these different things going on.
Yeah, well, we have a central team that does Gears 5, and then we have a publishing group that is working with great partners. We have Splash Damage working on Tactics, and Mediatonic working on Gears Pop.
Okay.
Both of them in the UK.
Right.
And so that's kind of how we're able to keep 3 projects going all at the same time. And we work with Splash Damage on Ultimate Edition, so it was a great way to start that partnership, and then it's just continued to grow.
Splash Damage is awesome.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they've got a nice long history in the business. Have you guys been growing as you've been at the coalition? Has it been a like consistent growth as new technology, and now you've got to understand all of the the requirements that people have with their fancy 4K systems and TVs?
Yeah, it's been one of the interesting transitions when you look at Gears 1 all the way to now Gears 5. The growth has been incredible.
Yeah.
When I got hired at Epic, I was employee number 63.
Wow.
So if you think of Gears 1 was probably an 80-person team, and now we're in the multiple hundreds on Gears 5, and so yeah, it's just that what used to be a thing that was something a generalist could do, where you could do, our level designers would also do the environment art and the textures and the placement and all this stuff, and now you have very specific, I have a person who just does lighting. Like, that wasn't the way it was back in 2005. And, and having people who just do modeling or just do tech, like it's become so complex with 4K and everything else that you actually have a lot more specialists, and so your teams have gotten bigger.
Are there more of you as well? Like,
no.
have you had to clone yourself or hire people to help you figure out all of these different things?
Yeah, I have a lot of really great support. I have a design director for multiplayer with Ryan Clevin, and a design director for campaign, which is Matt Searcy.
Yeah.
And I just hired and essentially brought back Bonnie Jean-Ma. She was on the narrative team for Gears 4, and we brought her back as a franchise narrative lead for the entire franchise.
Nice.
Because we're doing so much now. We're doing comic books, and we're doing transmedia stuff.
Yeah.
And plus with 3 games and keeping all the lore and canon and all, it can't just go through me.
Yeah.
And we have some people. The guy who ran the Gears Wiki is on one part of our QA.
No way.
So
like a fan?
Yeah, well, so Andrew Morava, so he's our hardest of the hardcore. So I would look at this comic. Is there anything wrong? And you're like, that guy wasn't there on that day, and you're like, okay, good, good to know. And I'll send it back, right? So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So you need to get that kind of support because it is such a big franchise now, and so it can't all just go through one person.
Yeah. There's been a lot of hype over the spectacular God of War that came out last year, and it was like a reinvention of that franchise and the way to look at it. But you guys had kind of done something similar with Gears of War 4. It wasn't like shaking everything up, but I think there was some concern over how you guys were going to handle it and how it was going to be made and how it was going to connect, to the stuff we had known before and also be new.
Right.
You pulled it off.
Yeah, I mean, we did it different, and I think they had a long history with God of War, and I think because of their long history with God of War, they were able to go and truly reinvent, and go and say, we're going to go completely different.
Yeah.
We were a new studio, new team, first time working on the franchise, and we felt like we didn't have permission yet. We hadn't earned the right to go and reinvent totally from the ground up. And so we sought out to build a Gears game that Gears players wanted, that they knew they wanted.
Yeah, but still, new characters, like a next generation of people to care about, and that's what got me about Gears 4, is that I didn't expect to love these characters. I didn't expect to laugh at the beats and get into the story of it, and I did for big chunks of the previous Gears, but it felt like it almost overstayed its welcome a little bit. Yeah. And I think you guys shaking it up was, but not too much, was a very shrewd move.
Thanks. Yeah, we were trying to make it contemporary, feel contemporary. It felt like, it felt like Gears 1, 2, and 3 was kind of the Tim Burton Batman. Yeah. And we wanted to be closer to the Christopher Nolan Batman.
Nice,
and we weren't going to get there, and then but we wanted to at least kind of have some of those sensibilities. And the other part was that, when you look at our characters, you look at Marcus and Cole and Baird and Dom, they were so fixed. They were in their 40s and they were sort of fixed in their personality, and so they weren't really going to transform based on their events. The world was going to transform around them. Yeah. And so what I really want to do with the next generation is have these 20-somethings that, through their adventures and through what they do, they can actually transform as characters. And you kind of see that in the E3 trailer with JD gets messed up and you don't know why, but they've changed their relationships, and we wanted that to have the adventures have an impact on them as personalities.
You guys must have been so scared.
About
the reception and
oh, totally.
Was it just? I mean, how do you get over that as you're? edging closer to release.
Yeah, it's just talking to people and hearing the feedback was just amazing. And that was one of the things that was a kind of a shock, as I talked about before, is that I was going out really nervous, going like, oh, we haven't earned the right to, like we have to prove.
Yeah.
And on like the first couple of, we go out and talk to fans a couple times, and they're like, yeah, no, you totally got it. And like, what are you doing now? And
that's awesome.
and that's where we're like, oh, we didn't push hard enough on the new because like we were so busy trying to prove ourselves.
That was the complaint.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, like, I'm spoiling the end a little bit of Gears, but that was my favorite part when we got all the cool new toys at the end.
Right.
And I'm like, I want more. I want to keep going. And that's kind of what you get to start from now, right?
Totally. Now we get to work on a game that we really feel like we can bring our personality to. Like this is the Coalition's Gears of War. It's not trying to like make sure we're stayed completely within the lanes. Like we're going to go at different places and do different things, and and that's what I'm excited about for fans to see a Coalition version of the game.
Awesome. Can you give us any sense of what that might be? Like any kind of taste of what the Coalition?
Not really.
I mean, you gave us a pretty good look in the trailer.
Yeah.
We get to see that Kate is the person that we're going to be invested in.
She's the protagonist, and it was I got a lot of questions about like, oh, are you just doing this to be trendy, or like da 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 da, right? And I was like, no, actually, not at all. It was really an organic, as we went through to tell our story, because we're not going out and saying like, here's all the beats of all our stories forever. Like it was like, let's tell this part of the story and see where we go. And when you look at Gears 4, it really is Kate's story. It's about saving her mom and what's happened, and especially the twist at the end. And so when we got to sit down and start thinking about 5, we were like, well, wait, like if you're going to have this impactful story happening to this character, wouldn't it be even more impactful if it was happening to you and not to you're watching somebody go through something?
Totally.
And so we're like, so it felt like, I always go back to Mad Max Fury Road. It's like, it's called Mad Max Fury Road, but it's really Furiosa Fury Road. Like it's really her story.
Which they need to make, by the way.
They do need to make.
They need to make a Furiosa
Yeah,
movie.
so JD is Mad Max. Like he was a good character that supported Kate.
Yeah.
And so I felt like for 5, what we should do is put the focus on the right character and let her come to the forefront and shine.
How much of a conversation was that with you guys? Did it take months of kind of just trying different ideas and different sort of mazes of where you could go, or was it like, yeah, of course, we're going to do that?
The choice of protagonist was pretty quick. It was that wasn't. There was the other stuff like where do we like as we were saying we want to be innovative and we want to take it to new places, but again we don't want to take it so far that we break it.
Right.
And so it was more about okay, like what about this part and what about this part and what about this part, and so we just went off and prototyped a bunch of stuff, and then we come back and we start playing those prototypes and we're like that feels good, that doesn't feel good, those sorts of things, and it starts to settle into okay, what are our pillars, what's our mission, let's go drive towards something.
Right on. So is that a kind of a description of the way that you guys conceive of things? You go into prototype pretty quickly? Is that you just like with what like simple geometry and little X's and O's and things like that?
Well, once you have like we have mature tech, so we already had 4, and so once you have that, you can pretty quickly go in and start creating things that look like things. Like you're like maybe it doesn't, that monster has different behaviors, it doesn't look right, but it has the behavior you want, and so you start to play with AI, or you start to play with weapon functionality, or you start to play with things that happen in the level and those sorts of things. And you go like, does this work? Does that work? And it's kind of like, the close cover combat stuff we put into Gears 4 where you could reach over and stab somebody. Like that was a pretty late addition.
Cool.
And then we're like, oh, that's kind of an interesting part about what is it that we're doing to advance cover? Like, because cover is such a big part of Gears. Like, what are we doing? And so prototype a bunch of new types of cover gameplay, and does that work? And those kinds of things. So.
We've been on panels before. We've talked about external development, and you have teams that are not embedded at the Coalition that you work with. Talk to me a little bit about trusting them with your baby a little bit.
It's always hard, but we have such great partners, and having a great relationship is a big part of that. And we always try to treat that as a partnership and not an over the wall, like just build that thing for us. Like we try to find ways that we can, they check into our source database, and we have those types of relationships with them that we can build things together, and we have the trust. And so it's an important part. Like these types of games can't be built generally, built by one team. You have to go out and find art outsourcers and code outsourcers and those types of things, right? And so, but we want to make them feel like co-development and less about that the kind of just outsourcing, and more about like how do we work together to build this together.
Awesome. You've talked about this game just severely kicking ass on a powerful PC. Is that still the goal, like to get it to the new game, Gears 5, to get it to 120 frames per second?
I don't know about, I'm not going to promise any frames per second, but I mean, we always have 2 things that we want to do. Is we're always sort of pushing the visual, we always want to be a visual showcase. That's sort of one of the things that we always put in our, okay, what's the first, few bullets for the next game, and it's like visual showcase is always at the top.
Yeah.
And then it's about we have all this power now with the X
Yeah.
and on PC, and so we want to push that power and see what we can do with it. And it's one of those great things. Like in 4, we ship with a benchmark mode, so you can feel like how to optimize the game to get it to run as fast and smooth as possible.
Yep.
And we're just going to continue, because again, excuse me, this is an engine team that's been with this engine for a long time now, and we know how to optimize it, and so we're just pushing it to the limit.
That's awesome. Do you, when you see the X and the work that transpired with getting 4 running on the X and just looking beautiful, does it bug you that wasn't the launch Xbox One? Because you guys could really show what the game was capable of.
Yeah. I mean, I love the fact that we were the first game out there that was enhanced for the X.
Yeah.
So that was amazing. No, I mean, it makes sense for when you're looking for finding hardware that approaches all audiences, you have to recognize that's one of the things about going from just a pure creator to understanding the business of and you have to look at what's the right price point for everybody. And so having an S out there means a lot more people get to play.
Yeah.
And so if we had an X, that means that a bunch of people probably may not have been able to afford it or come to the console or to that ecosystem. And so I think the SX thing works, and I'm happy for it, but I definitely like tapping in and having that X experience, because being able to go up to 60 frames per second and to see all the 4K textures and the HDR and everything else come to life, like, it's amazing.
Are you guys targeting something that, like long-term Gears fans are just going to be blown away by? Like, we've never seen anything fidelity-wise with...
Well, we're like I said, we're always trying to push, and one of the great things is that as new games come out, they always set a new bar.
Yeah.
Right, and so we do these things of like...
We just had a pretty damn good year of stuff,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, and so you always look at a game and a feature and you go like, hey, did you see the snow in God of War? Or like, did you see this? And did you see the foliage in Red Dead? And so those cause us to kind of go back and push ourselves and go like, oh, what we thought was our bar, we're like, no, that's not our bar anymore. And so as you develop that, you realize that kind of goal line changes for what it's going to be. And what's great about having the team that we have at the Coalition is they're always up for that challenge, and they always deliver.
Is there an appetite at the studio to kind of consume games together and sort of reverse engineer or analyze them and sort of see what other studios are doing and going, wow, we have to go the next leg up here?
Yeah, we always play. Like we're a playing studio. That's one of the things we try to do of our own game and of others. And so we have a game library that people can check it out. And the design team and I would do a lot of like, okay, we're on live talking about our experiences and what we're playing, and whether we're playing together or separately, and do the water cooler moment of like, did you see, right? And I have a retail box in my office, and I'll boot up and like, hey, did you notice this? Did you notice this? And we'll actually look at things, even first party, like we fired up Horizon 4 and go like, okay, beautiful. Hey, did you see this? How are we dealing with this kind of stuff? And go talk to them real quick, and so there's that kind of stuff where we take it as, just like I said, I think it's inspiration to continue to push, which I think is great for the industry.
Phil and the Xbox team have made a ton of acquisitions over the last 12 months.
Yes.
Are they tapping into your experience running in this studio, and is there shared expertise and shared information so that all of the the general managers and the studio heads are all kind of on a level playing field out there?
Yeah, well, we're doing. I just came back from Redmond yesterday, actually, and we called a QBR, the Quarterly Business Review, and basically it's all the leadership teams from all the studios, even then now the new ones like in Exile and Obsidian. So we're all together in a room for a day, and so we do that for a day, and then we do a half day where all just the studio heads get together for a half day, and it's all that sharing about what do you do here, how do you do that, and I kind of look at it as the brain trust, the way, if you've ever read Creativity Inc., the Pixar book. Yeah, so they talk about having this brain trust, and that's what I really see these you've got Fergus, who's been making games since the 80s.
Totally.
When I met him yesterday, I was like, dude, thanks for your body of work, because you've been making
games.
You've
never met Fergus before?
No.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, you've been making games as long as I've been playing them, almost. And so
that's awesome.
And to think about Icewind Dale and all those types of stuff, right?
Was Brian Fargo there too?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's kind of interesting moments of like you're a fan, but also a creator, but just being able to share like how we do things, is they do it so much differently as independent studios than we do, and they're so much smaller, and Guillaume from Compulsion, he's very small as a studio, and so it's just that sharing of knowledge that we can do across each other, but whether it's like, hey, here's what it's like inside of Microsoft, or here's what we do, and they tell us and here's because you look at games like Hellblade and you look at games like We Happy Few, those are so independently creative that that's really what Matt is trying to do, is he wants to make sure that these studios that join us are not sort of being pushed into like this big machine of games. It's really more about like how do we keep the creative integrity of these small studios, because that's
so tough.
That's why they were bought. Right?
That's so tough, isn't it?
It is,
that's
absolutely.
one of the big challenges. Ubisoft, I think, has done a very good job at sort of creating an identity for a lot of its teams, but of course there's so much cross collaboration, and they do so many, multiple teams working on these games right now.
Yeah.
They have a studio in Winnipeg that's like just all about world building that I found out about this year, and just sort of helping to create the 3D kind of spaces that we're going to be in. Can you see Microsoft now as a much bigger first-party publisher getting into that kind of thing?
I think it's hard to say. I mean, I think right now the fact that we have the independent studios is an interesting model. Like we liken it to the Canadian mosaic versus the American melting pot.
Okay.
Like as Matt likes to say, we're a culture of cultures.
Cool.
And so, which I think is really important. Like the fact that we're not trying to make all the studios be the same, and we're not trying to push this like, okay, everybody is a Microsoft culture, so everybody has, like, even the coalition is different than Redmond, and so, and Matt really wants that, and that's what I push for, and so that idea of culture of cultures is super important, and I'm excited to see how that plays out, and we're learning a lot, because you hear, like, Rare is so inspiring as a studio, and you hear about some of the stuff they're doing inside of their studio, whether it be for mental health or how they support their teams, and you go, wow, then that just makes you want to go and do more.
That's awesome. Is there a corporate-wide kind of structure for things like that at Microsoft?
What do you mean?
Like in terms of creating policy for mental health, or?
There are. I mean, there's benefits and those sorts of things. Lots of that kind of, what you would expect normally in terms of, and which is great. I mean, they have a great benefit package and ways to reach out to people. But
it's kind of a whole new company in a way, isn't it?
It really,
over the last year, it's like a totally different Microsoft Games division. It's now Xbox Games division.
Xbox Game Studios,
yes.
Yeah, I mean, even all the way down, Satya, I think, is kind of leading that revolution, the notion of, as Phil liked to say, like one of his first meetings with Satya was telling him about like how everybody should be meditating, which is not a Microsoft meeting kind of conversation topic. So I think that sort of cultural revolution from Satya down to Phil to Matt and down to us, I think is happening, and I think there is a greater awareness about what we're doing, whether from mental health and diversity and all those kinds of things, is something that's really important to us as creators, and something that the company's embracing as well.
Awesome. I've got a few questions from my Twitter feed.
Okay.
All right, and you can say no comment.
Okay.
If there is nothing that you can tell us about, but I can't go too deep onto Gears of War 5.
Right.
Is E3 the next time that we're going to hear stuff, or is it potentially a little bit?
Or
Gears 5. I said of War. I apologize.
I mean, we're trying to, we're purposely controlling. We just don't want. The thing I found really difficult in the past is when you talk too soon.
Yeah.
You have to keep talking, like get excited, go quiet for a while, get excited again, go quiet for a little while, get excited again, right? And so it's more about trying to find a way that we pace the kind of hype train, like how early you started and how do you get it rolling and that kind of stuff. And so we're just being a little bit more patient.
I mean, you showed quite a bit at E3 last year. That trailer was pretty, to rewatch it again today, I was like, wow, you showed quite a bit of this game.
We're just really proud of what we're building, and was one of the things that there was some heartburn around showing the full cinematic of.
Like, are we playing in that bit when we're doing
Okay,
cool.
Everything there is that's playable. And the cinematic where JD and Kate, where Kate confronts JD about what happened, there was a death, and that's a cinematic from our game, and we were just so proud about where that had gotten, and it really felt like it really resonated to the kind of story we wanted to tell. That it's going to be an impactful story, an emotional story with a lot of cool kick-ass gameplay to go with it.
Awesome. Let's see if I can get a couple here. Will any of the skins carry over from Gears 4 to Gears 5, i.e. Black Steel and TCA Commendation Lancer? This is from Viking. Neil Pez.
Oh, okay. That's something we're still working out, to be honest with you. It's something that we haven't completely settled on in terms of how that will all work, because one of the things you do as you move one version next is you change how you render things, and so that becomes harder and harder.
Okay, this is a tough one. I don't know. Will fans be surprised by the new mechanics in Gears 5, and out of 10, how much has changed between 4 and 5 from feedback? This is from Onyx Guard 109.
I can't quantify it like that. That's too hard to do. I mean, I think there's going to be, for Gears players, I think there's going to be a lot of cool new things for them to do that I think they should be excited about, and that we take it in different directions. And we've been listening to the fans and what they want, and I think and hopefully we're delivering that.
I mean, that was one of the most wonderful, eye-opening things that I discovered when you guys took us through the Gears 4 reveal, when you had all of us come to the studio.
Right.
You just showed us all these videos of people getting tattoos and getting married through Gears. I was
Right.
like, wow, man, the community is big. You know that as this thing outside of your mind there.
Right.
And then when you start to dive into the people and you see how
So
passionate they are, yeah.
Yeah, it's that's my biggest inspiration. We just did a fan fest in Brazil, in Sao Paulo,
Right on.
and at the XO18 in Mexico, I was there as well.
Cool.
And in over 2 days, I signed posters and took photos for 5.5 hours over
Wow.
2 days. And it was just story after story about like what the game meant to them and how it brought them together, or how it keeps them family together, how it keeps connected over distances. And that's the big thing that I felt like co-op really brings. Like, a lot of people have great moments in a single player game by themselves, but I get all the stories about what it means with a shared experience,
Sure.
right? And that's why co-op is always what we say. Co-op is cake. It's like, it's not the icing. It's core to who we are, and that idea of shared experience is so important to me. And it comes back to me tenfold by the stories that our fans tell us, and just to see the love. And like I said, I wish I could take every team member and put them in front of that feeling, because it's just amazing.
Microsoft has this product called Skype.
Ah, yeah, okay.
it's
Let's
cool.
just hook it up in front and have everybody do the handshakes and poster signs.
We've got Ross Hickey. He's doing a live reaction, and I'm talking about your live reaction as we're doing this live. So I don't know.
Inception. We could get sucked into a vortex at any moment.
Is it Inception? Other than Gears, of course. This is from Brian Foote. This is a great question. I was going to get to it. What types of games do you like to play? And he says, keep up the great work. Gears is his favorite franchise.
Nice. Mine too. I like all games, pretty much. The one I just cannot do Dark Souls. I just can't do Dark Souls. It's just the one.
You have
franchise.
to have so much patience.
I know,
I'm
man.
right there with you.
I'm just too old.
I play it and I'm like, man, this thing is just telling me I suck over and over. Like, how much abuse can a game give me?
My self-esteem is razor thin. Like, I can't take that. But
Yeah.
no, I mean, I'm doing a lot. I've Beat Saber right now is kind of my thing. Like,
Really?
Yeah, I was not into the VR thing very much.
Yep.
And I got into Beat Saber.
Someone from Coalition, please send us video of Rod playing Beat Saber in VR.
Yeah, exactly. Well, now that they got the new, the League of Legends, the KD, it's a great song. Anyway, I put a bunch of time into Red Dead. I'm almost finished, but I'm not quite.
Yeah.
Every time I go home for Christmas, I play a lot of action RPG stuff with my kids, and so we went through Path of Exile again all the way through. So
Nice.
another level, my second level 80 character,
on.
and so in Diablo 3 is probably other than Gears is my favorite franchise,
Yes.
and so play a lot of that, especially now that it's on the Switch.
It's
playing
crazy
that
on the
airplane.
Switch, isn't it?
But I need my reading glasses because it didn't scale the UI. The UI is still for TV, and so now that was the worst part. Was I break up a thing on Switch, and I'm like, son of a, and then I get the grandpa glasses on, and I'm playing Diablo with grandpa glasses on. I'm even,
awesome.
and the Pokemon,
Let's go.
Eevee.
Yeah,
I
it's so good.
had to go Eevee. But yeah, so I play
Is
a lot
that
of
for
stuff.
the kids, or is that
No, it's
because
me.
you?
Yeah,
Really?
no,
That
yeah, it's
sounds
me.
great.
Yeah, I mean, I was like hitting Pokestops on the way here. So
No way.
yeah, so I still
Oh
do
my
that.
God, he lives and breathes it. I love it. Are you the person that said we have to make Gears Tactics? Then are you the strategy guy that said we need something in this space?
There's no one person. I think that's one of the great things about our studio, and I like when we go into a room and people start a conversation, and by the time you walk out of the room, nobody knows who owned it. It was just you walk out with a cool idea, and that's kind of one of our tests. Is like if somebody puts something out, and then you go like and, then you go like, oh, that's a good idea. If somebody says something and it's crickets, then you go like, nah, that one's dead. And our publishing team, they're really big into it. Like, our publishing team were the people who really did the Gears Pop thing. They were like, hey, we have this idea. What do you think? And I'm like, that's really cool. But then I went and then I looked down at little mini Kate, and I went, what about Pop? And they're like, oh, that could work, right? And so that was a collaboration. Tactics kind of started way back at Epic when we had a game jam, and we did a little thing. And so that was always back in the back of my head that there's this way to do, because when you play turn-based strategy in Gears, like it's almost like you took Gears and you concentrated it down to a thick syrup. Like the true essence of Gears really is in a turn-based strategy game.
Totally. It's like a game of checkers or chess, right?
Yeah.
You're constantly just moving across the board and trying to flank and
Totally, and going cover to cover to cover, right? And
yeah.
so it feels really good. So it's all
that
like
would make
covered.
an excellent Switch game. Just saying,
I
Xbox
agree.
games.
I agree. Nintendo, I agree. No.
That would be amazing. Okay, and that might be something that we just revealed that is going to go all around the internet right now. Okay, during the development of Gears and its sequels, were there any specific games that you felt you be in direct competition with? Does this ever affect game development?
Oh, it always affects.
Yeah, that's from D9000.
Yeah, it always affects game development. Whether they're competitive, like that's the thing I was saying before. You're not looking for necessarily competition of like what's the next third-person shooter out there, like or whatever. Like it's actually just competition on like, oh, their snow tech is better than our snow tech, or their vehicle physics is better than our vehicle physics, or their guns are better than our guns. So you look at like piece by piece, like who you're competing with. But over the like. One of the games I said that I wish I had, some people ask the question of like, what game have you ever, that you wish you were in the credits, like you had made that game, and that really inspired me, and Uncharted 2 was that for me.
Oh yeah.
Like Uncharted 2 was the one where I was like, wow, okay, that's, now I understand, like now I see what it looks like. And
have you ever talked to Amy Hennig about that?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a few conversations, and we're Facebook friends and stuff, but we're not, but it's just, that was a game that sort of, because the way that we did cinematics, like our motion capture and our voices are separate, and they were doing perf cap, and you could see that, like the opening with the cooler on the boat when he grunts through the lifting of the cooler, you were just like, I can't get that in a booth because I don't know that that's happening in that moment, right? And it was just one of those things that those types of games that sort of just inspire you as a creator to go like, wow, like that's amazing. And same thing like Red Dead to me is like, that's just like a mystery. Like you just go like, that's just magic. Like I don't even know how you create that game. Like I'm just like, okay, I'm happy. And I was like,
sounds like Rod's gonna take a vacation in Edinburgh for a little while.
So the way I sum it up is like, people would always ask me like, what do you think of Red Dead? What do you think of Red Dead? I said, I think Red Dead is like the Bohemian Rhapsody of video games.
Right.
As it's a masterpiece. It's really long, and I'm glad not every game is like it.
Right. Yes, and it's a mystery on how it all comes together.
Exactly. Like, and you go like, who had the mind that created this thing, right? Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, totally. So, are we going to be? You've got 3 games in the pipeline.
Yeah.
Are we going to be seeing more on all 3 of these games at the same time? Is that the idea, or are we going to start to see these things as individual products pretty soon?
Yeah, they'll be individual. I mean, the thing we wanted to do at E3 was really I wanted to get across really clearly that Microsoft is tripling down on Gears of War. I think the more that people see a number after a game get higher and higher, they start to wonder, is that the last one? Is that the last one?
Right.
And I want to just make it really clear, like, no, like we have a whole studio dedicated to this franchise, and we're going, very broad with comic books and, and the movie and all that kind of stuff. So there's lots going on in the Gears of War universe. So I just wanted to hit people with like, not only are we building 1 game, we're building 3 games. Like this is how big. And so now that we've had that momentum, you'll start to see us, they'll each start to individually shine.
That's awesome. I am curious to learn a little bit more about the Funko partnership and the relationship there. Have you shown gameplay of it yet? I think we just got a little CG trailer.
Yeah,
so far,
don't think we've shown. We've shown a little bit, right? There's the Rod and his buddy video. That's right. Dana's in the crowd. We did a little developer diary of it, and it showed Tyler Bielman, who's the coalition designer on it, and he walked through like how him and I playing against each other, and sort of showed what it was like. And it's it's a battle arena PvP game, but what's really cool is that Gears brings again cover is core to Gears. So this cover mechanic, this sort of taking territory, is really cool twist on it all. Yeah. And the characters come to life, and they were always like, what will we play the real voices? Will we play this? What kind of? And I'm like, Muppet Babies. I want Muppet Baby voices. And so now, so like all the characters have these little Muppet Baby voices.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So are they the same actors?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And they've just been sped up?
Yeah, and then we just process them slightly differently.
Oh, that's so rad. So you're doing performance capture now, and it started with Gears 4, yes?
We haven't. We did a little bit, yes, in terms of what we were trying to do, and that's something that we like both the quality of what you get for per cap, but we also still like the flexibility we get for in the 2 separate cases. So we tend to do a hybrid of them, and so I think as we look forward, we'll probably do more and more because it's so cool, like I said, to get that sort of the physicality. And one of the things that I really love is just the ad libs. Honestly, that there's some stuff. That our actors bring to it that when they're in the moment, that they don't know that moment. They don't have all that context when they're in the booth.
Right.
I mean, I do my best when directing them, but when they're there on set, they can say something. And
they're owning it.
Yeah, and it's like, that wasn't in the script, but we want it, right? And so
you got to have a good anecdote or a good story about working with Laura Bailey.
They're all good stories. Laura's amazing. Yeah, Laura is great, and she's in everything. And she's a new mom now, which is awesome to see. She always brings Ronan to her VO booth, stuff, which is great.
Before she starts killing all the bad guys.
I mean, her child is so gorgeous. Like I was like, when she brought him in, I was recording with her like 2 weeks ago, and I was just like, where's his agent? Because like he's definitely ready for like some baby food commercial or something. Because like you take Laura and Travis, which are two gorgeous people, and they get a gorgeous baby out of it, and it was just
probably with a gorgeous voice already.
Probably, he probably has like a quality scream that goes with it. But no, Laura is great, and she's been, her and John DiMaggio, there are kind of the people who've been doing it the most, and it's been really great for Liam and Eugene, who they JD and Del, who are newer to it. They've done more on camera work than they've done voice work, and it was really great to have sort of these mentors about like here's a way to do that, and what we've seen from 4 to 5 like has been phenomenal. Like we were recording with Eugene like again 2 weeks ago, and I just had to tell him again. I'm like, hey, dude, you're just killing it on this game. Like it's amazing. As we review cinematics and we watch Del's character, like he wasn't as much. He's a lot more in the foreground in 5, and Eugene and is killing it. But they all do. So it's one of my favorite things, just working with this cast.
Awesome. Dude, I want to talk about Gears 5 so badly, and I'm just biting my tongue.
Me too.
Yes, I know you do. So we will reconvene at some point.
Absolutely.
All right? We're both in the same city.
I know, I walked over.
You got a cafe that you can come and hang out in.
With good tea.
And I'll let you know when we've got some other fun guests on the show, and we'd love to have you back, and maybe we'll have you and someone else or something, but I can't wait to find out more about Gears 5. Right now, we're going to throw it to a buried treasure. I know we like to harp on how many terrible licensed games there are out there, but back in 2003, a fantastic licensed game came out. It was called The Simpsons Hit and Run. Thank you to Empire Armchair for Aaron Dunn for suggesting this one for Buried Treasure. It was a terrific game. It was absolutely an unabashed Grand Theft Auto clone. It copied the idea of having an open world to kind of explore, but this is, of course, the world of The Simpsons. So you're visiting a lot of marquee places and destinations that you would see at the television show. You've got all the characters, and it had great gameplay. Lots of fetch quests and lots of missions that had you driving all across town, and some cool character exclusive animations and lots of gags that you had to play through. A ton of nods and allusions to the stuff that you'd seen on the hit series, but it was just beautifully crafted, and it was made right here in Vancouver at Radical Entertainment, rest in peace. They did an incredible job, and I thought it was amazing back in the day, and it's really fun. Obviously, entertainment in the interactive space has progressed so rapidly, and we've got so many amazing titles, but it's really cool to go back in time and see just how well games like this hold up. I think The Simpsons Hit and Run is a classic, and it is absolutely a buried treasure. Wasn't Rod awesome on the show? Fantastic guest. It was so good to have him here. Definitely, we're going to have him back as soon as possible. But now it is time for speaking of being super frosty when I'm outside doing these buried treasures and reviews on the runs, I was freezing when I did my review of Arctic. I don't know what's been going on with the last few movies that I've seen. I saw Polar starring Mads Mikkelsen. I saw Cold Pursuit starring Liam Neeson. Here I am seeing Arctic, also starring Mads Mikkelsen. And they've all been frosty, frigid movies, and there's also been a cold front in Vancouver, so it's just crazy. You go into the theater, you're cold watching a movie, you go outside, it's freezing outside. But you know what? Arctic is an incredible movie. So well crafted. Mads Mikkelsen is one of my favorite actors out there anyways. I mean, he's terrific in whatever you put him in. Hannibal, Rogue One, Casino Royale, the guy's phenomenal. He was great in Polar, even though Polar wasn't that great of a movie, but Arctic certainly is a great film, and it lives up to the enormous amount of talent that this man has. He plays this adventurous soul that crash lands in the Arctic, and he has to fend for himself. So we, as moviegoers, are kind of stuck with Mads Mikkelsen not really saying much for big chunks of the film, just trying to survive and stay alive. And that takes a pretty incredible actor to hold your attention and to make us care and make us believe in this performance. Similar to what Tom Hanks did with Castaway, we have to be along for the ride with this, and that's exactly what happens here. And what I love the most about Arctic is that it felt authentic. It felt like we go off on this harrowing tale. We do see this guy that has to kind of live up to these ridiculous challenges and find a way to survive. He learns how to ice fish. He learns how to survive any polar bear attacks. He's constantly looking and searching for any hope of civilization, any hope of being rescued. And he does such an amazing job pulling us in. Beautifully shot film as well. Obviously, we're going to see lots of snowy mountains, and we get interiors of crashed aircraft and things, but it feels real, it feels authentic, and it's just a wonderful escape that's just so expertly crafted. I encourage you to get out and see this. And when I was watching the movie, I certainly thought of, lots of big budget action adventure blockbusters out there. When we see Lara Croft or something like that, they seem to take their eyes off the prize and don't make us really believe that they're going through these incredibly tense and awful situations, but this movie somehow does. And what's amazing is Joe Penna, who's the director of the film, this is his directorial debut, and he's done an enormously entertaining job here. It's not a movie that you're going to feel especially comfortable watching, but I don't think you are going to find fault with how it's been put together. It's crafted so exquisitely well. I'm going to give Arctic a 9 out of 10. Yeah, super cool movie. If you have a chance, get out and go and see Arctic. It's in limited release right now, but it's totally worth your time. If you don't catch it in the theater, I think that's one you want to put on a notepad or something like that on your phone. Remind yourself, because it's terrific, and Mads Mikkelsen is the bomb. He's fantastic in this. My friend Warren is up here, and he has joined me. How you doing, buddy?
Good.
You've
Vic.
come to every one of our EP Lives
Yes,
so far.
I have. Haven't
That's
missed
awesome.
one yet.
We have this medal. No, we don't.
Yep.
We don't have a medal
crap.
for you. But it's great that you're here. Thank you.
Yep.
You're going to be playing the Division 2 private beta, which we just got our hands on today. Thank you, Ubisoft. And
Right.
so you're going to go in and you're going to shoot at some bad guys. Stay alive for as long as you can. You do have some resources like, I think, what do? You've got, you use these, there's your grenade. You can chuck that way if you want to. You're getting shot at right there. Okay, it's not an invert. I'm an invert guy. Okay, so you got bad guys over there. This is Let's Play and Chat though, so if you've got any questions or comments and you want to talk, help me out. Make it all caps so I can read it a little bit easier, and I'll answer anything or I'll read comments out. But great to see you, Nintendo Boy 17. GameCube may not have had GTA, but at least there's Simpsons Hit and Run. Yes, man, that was classic. Another fantastic thing about Simpsons Hit and Run made right here in Vancouver. Let's see what else we got here. We got some questions right down there. I'm not a GTA fan, but every GTA discussion I see, they only talk GTA 3 and onward on consoles and PC. Question from Taz: have you started to play Kingdom Rush Vengeance? No, I have not. I'm not playing the mobile stuff hardly at all these days. It's all, I've got the Switch with me all the time, and so I play that if I'm in kind of a mobile space somewhere, if I'm waiting for a movie or something. And I'm on my consoles and my PC a little bit. From Game Freak 84, hey Vic, where did you get the Spider-Man on your desk with the blinking eyes? This is the Sphero Spider-Man. They sent it to me to review it, and there is a review on our channel of it. And the guy that did the voice for this Spider-Man, because we've silenced it so it's not talking through the whole show, actually saw the review and then reached out, and now we're Facebook buddies. He's doing well as a voice actor in Los Angeles. But Sphero just recently said they're not going to do any more of these licensed properties. They're going to stick with the robots that they have, because they have to spend a lot of money on getting these licenses and doing that. And they've decided that they're just going to stick with regular programmable robots, which kind of sucks, because this was really cool. But if the other robots are making more money for them, totally understand it. What do you think of this game?
Oh, it's pretty badass.
It looks great, huh?
From what I see, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, they did. This is all a post-apocalyptic Washington D.C.
Yeah.
There's been some pandemic that's stretched across the earth. The first one was in New York City.
New York City, yeah.
And then this is. It's cool, and what they've done, it's almost one-to-one in terms of Washington City streets as well. There's so much detail. It blows me away how much detail's in
Have
there.
you been to Washington?
To DC? Yeah.
Yeah, to DC.
Yeah,
is it like
a great
exactly
city.
the same, or is?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I haven't seen the whole thing.
Okay.
I had some hands-on time at an event recently, but it's so cool. Of course, Washington does not look like this.
Yeah.
Thankfully, and hopefully it never will. Maswe Martinez, did I say it right? Good to see you. He's here. This is freaking me out. He's here. He's in the chat. Says VFS Cafe is the bomb. So happy to be here live. That's awesome. Let's see. We got any question from Nintendo Boy 17. Speaking of the Switch, did you pick up Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy yet? No, I'm waiting for a review code from the developer. I think it's going to be one that I definitely want to take a look at, and that's going to be surreal for me because when I'm doing these games that I reviewed ages ago and they're back, it's such a weird thing. But I definitely want to check that out. Here we go. Rowan Strata says, hey Vic, do you know if WB Montreal is making a new Batman game? I think they've teased that they are. I think they've been none too shy about suggesting that new Batman is on the way from them. They just aren't ready to tell us yet, more about it, but I can't wait. I've been sort of pinging my friends at Warner Brothers Games to see if anything new is happening in that direction. I'm ready for new Arkham, for sure. Yeah. Comment from Tyler Fisher. Hey, Vic, thanks for sending your northern winds down to us. Pretty substantial winter storm supposed to slam Portland all weekend. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's super cold up here, too. I think that snow is in the forecast. But, we haven't gotten the polar vortex or whatever was out east, Hope everybody's doing all right out there with that. I know a lot of people have been suffering through the cold. Party Hat Cat question, how high are your expectations for Avengers Endgame? They're through the roof.
Pretty high.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I can't freaking wait for this movie. I don't care if it's 9 hours long. I'll sit there. I'll just bring a pillow or something, but I can't wait. I think it's going to be sensational, and I think we're going to be saying goodbye to some of our favorite superhero actors, which is going to suck, but I can't wait to see the movie. What are you most looking for What are you most looking to for the Division 2? What am I looking forward to the most in the Division 2? I think they've just refined the core experience. And when I had the interviews, I told them that, I'll get to the end game, but I'm not one of those 1,000 hours in the game kind of people. I play too many things to review current things and stay up on all the new stuff out there. So the end game deficits that the first game had that they've kept patching over time, they didn't really bother me that much. Every time I did play the Division 1, I dug it. I'm just looking to more refinement, better stories, better, sort of end battles and boss battles. And what I played, I really enjoyed. It is one of those games, though, where it's like you're sinking hours into it, you get to the end of it, and it's like, oh my God, okay. I'm just gonna put the controller down and breathe now for a little bit and take a breath. It's intense. You don't want to die, and you're stuck in the middle of a firefight, and you're hiding in a corner, and you're getting swarmed by waves of bad guys. Very cool game. What do we got here? Comment, picked it up yesterday at GameStop. It was the last copy they had. Wonder if that means it's okay for what they. I don't know what you're talking about. That was from Nintendo Boy 17. Spider Lewis Gaming comment. Hey Vic, greetings from the UK. It's 11:30 over there. Just wanted to say I really enjoy your content and I think you deserve way more views. Thank you. Hope to get more involved in the game community. Great community here. You're the best. Thank you so much. Please go and tell about 1,000 friends that you have and ask them to tell 1,000 more friends in the UK. Love the UK. I can't wait to get back and thank you for watching even though it's very late at night. That's awesome. Canadian Bot, I'm the only one who has mixed feelings of The Last of Us having a sequel. Canadian Bot 92. Yeah, I think I think there's probably people at Naughty Dog that have mixed feelings about The Last of Us having a sequel. I'm sure that was not an easy thing for them to kind of navigate because the first one was so phenomenal,
it was
right?
so good, yeah. It was
right?
really good.
And you can make missteps. Like Uncharted 3 is a good game, but it's not talked about with the same reverence that Uncharted 2 was.
Uncharted 2 was great, yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so, yes, I know that Naughty Dog has been like, we got to get this right. And Sony's giving them all the time and money for them to do that. So I think it's going to be amazing. Question from Blake Siefkin. Who's this guy? How do we come to the cafe? It's free to come in. Please explain. Oh, it's a good question. Yeah, if you ever want to come and see the show live, we'd love for you to come down. It's cool. It's right in the middle of the day is when the show is, and we get that. But it's a lot of fun, and we'll make it worth your while. 3 p.m. is when we make the show. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We are at 390 West Hastings in Vancouver, BC. And it's fun here, right, guys? Woo! Yes. And you can have some coffee, and you can say hello to guests, and you can check out some cool new games. 390 West Hastings is the cafe in the VFS space, and we'd love to see you here. Paul Casilio wants Vic to review your life. I'm going to give you a 10 out of 10 because you're spending your time wisely watching EP Live. That's awesome. Question from Jamie Andrews. How hard was it for you to restrain yourself from asking more questions about Gears 5? Jamie, you caught that, didn't you, man? I was just like, I kept looking over at my friend Dana over there who came with Rod, and I was like, oh my, can I? No, I can't. I kept having to stop myself. But Rod thankfully had lots of interesting things to say, which I knew he would, even if he couldn't tell us too many new details about Gears 5. GamerFreak84, hey Vic, I ran across an old broadcast of G4ia when you were on and interviewing people, the good old days of G4. Yeah, I hosted the first G4ia event in Hollywood, and that was surreal. It was at the Henry Ford Theater on Hollywood Boulevard, and I remember walking down the street in Hollywood with the script of the show in my back pocket, and I just like, how did I get here? I was a video game fan, and suddenly I'm hosting this network award show, and the main host was Jamie Kennedy, and he was totally stoned, but he was pretty funny. And I was with Diane Mazzotta, and we were paired up, and we did all of the interviews and some throws and stuff like that, but we gave awards to Elijah Wood, and we just had a terrific time. It was surreal, and I think everybody that was in part of G4, that was the first one in 2002, and I think everybody that was there was just like, it was all surreal. And Public Enemy performed, and I met the people from the Flock of Seagulls, and and it was like, what's happening? All of these weird things were going on, but it was terrific. Blade Blur, just a reminder, you're one of the best gaming journalists I've ever had an honor to listen to. This is for you and the success of EP Live. Blade Blur, thank you so much, man. You are the best, you sweetheart. Vic, when are you headed back to Japan? Let's hit up in Izakaya next time you're here, from Phil Japan 07. Definitely want to get back. It's been a while. Maybe, I don't know, maybe this year for Tokyo Game Show would be super fun. It's always good to go out there and have at least a day to go to TGS and then do some other things as well. KFXG question, any plans to get Tommy on the show for an interview in the future? 100%. We haven't started to do the Skype things yet because we wanted to kind of embrace the idea of having a live space and bring guests to it. But I definitely intend, if people can't get to Vancouver, for whatever reason, that we will Skype with them, and Tommy's going to be one of those folks that will definitely do that. So sorry if I'm spoiling that surprise, but at some point in the future, you will see Tommy's big head right there. And that's the only time I can say that he's got a big head, because he's been doing that to me forever. So F you, Tommy. Question. Will there ever be an organized gaming session soon? Oh, Taz, you know I want to do that, but it's been super, super crazy busy, but we will get to that. You know what would be cool is if we could organize a gaming session right here. Maybe some kind of a meetup where everybody comes and we set up some monitors and we play something together. There's no reason why we couldn't do like a little mini LAN party or something inside the cafe for the show. Let's see what we got here. Blade Blur, when are you stopping by the Bay Area again? I'd love to meet you on your home turf. I was just down there for the Division 2, but I will let you guys know when I'm coming down next. Adam Sessler would be a great guest. That's from Game Freak 84. Yes, he would. I miss that Adam Sessler. He's a good dude. Gamer Freak 84. I like the nice touch of Judgment Day in the background of the new set. That was the idea. They're not really Easter eggs because they're big. The logos. It's a big logo that we have behind us. All of it is big, but I wanted people to see, where we came from. Some of the different show brands and things that we've done. Ash S wants us to bring back Vic's Basement. Working on that. Mm-hmm. Working on that. Do you miss Vic's Basement too?
Yeah, I miss it a lot.
Yeah, it has to be a different show than EP Live.
Yeah.
So I'd have to kind of conceptualize that. Working on that. Dennis Ryan, speaking of these things produced in Vancouver, have you watched the new Carmen Sandiego from Netflix, animated in Vancouver and utterly beautiful? I have to watch that with my kid, eh? I think that's a good recommendation there, Dennis. Let's see what we got here. Suggestion, bring on the Sessler. That's from Tyler Fisher. So that's 2 votes for Adam Sessler, 1 vote for Tommy. Adam's winning today, Tommy. Take that. JBJ Blaze and TFA, did you guys scare the students away? I'd totally fill a seat if I could be there. Listen, here's what we're doing with the students. Of course the students are invited down here, but the students are in class right when we roll, and it kind of fits because of, they come in here for lunches and then they leave and then we set up and stuff like that. So it kind of makes sense timing-wise.
Yeah, I was a alumni. I graduated 2 years ago.
No way, you came here.
I came
right
here,
on.
yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, so we've been starting to let the teachers know, but if they're super busy, they can't leave. And unfortunately, today would have been great for the game design students and the programmers to come and listen to Rod. But you will see the students in here for sure. It's going to happen. And I'm working with the school a little bit more closely to try to figure out people and timing, and we're going to also have, because a lot of the people that teach at the Vancouver Film School are professionals that have come from really interesting backgrounds and projects, so they're going to come on the show as guests at different stages and tell us a little bit about what they do, and maybe we'll start to fill up seats with students and stuff there too. But honestly, it's open to the public, and if you are in Vancouver and you watch this content and you have the time during the day, come on down. What do we got here? Wally West comment, in 2011, did you know that your EP Daily was coming on just as City TV was shutting off during the transmission from analog to digital TV? Wesley West, it was weird when we sent out the show because we knew we were broadcast all over the place, but it was like we just sent out like, what are those tubes, the pneumatic tubes? Where you send a little message in a tube and you go, poof, and it just goes. It's kind of like what like sending the show was. It was like, poof, it was gone, and we didn't know where the hell it was playing. Like we'd get ratings every once in a while, but we do know that people were somehow watching it in like Israel and South America and all over Canada and like tiny little towns all over the place. And there was one era of EP when we were on MTV Canada, Space. Local stations, and we only played on the weekends, but all day on Saturday and Sunday you could keep turning channels, and there we were, and that was the weirdest thing. It was like, what, over here, oh here, it's like, and Tommy and I are making fools of ourselves. This whole thing has been. Now I'm in a cafe making the show. I don't know how that happened, but this is my career. It's weird. What else we got here? Oh, I love that you guys are talking to each other. Have I listened to Scott's podcast, Heavily Pixelated Thoughts? It's awesome. Ash, yes, I have. It's incredible. And I talked to Scott just this week. I miss him very much. I miss Marissa very much. I talked to her just this week. And I was on the Quest to Cure Cancer stream that Sean Hatton put together the other day. So I've been, I'm constantly in the orbit of all of my friends that I've worked with. I was texting with Ben Silverman today, but I definitely want to have Scott on and get caught up. He does get to Vancouver every once in a while, so he knows that next time he's here, he's going to be on the show. But he's many cool things are going on for him in his world because of his work on this podcast, and I'm very happy for him. And if you're not listening to Heavily Pixelated, you absolutely should. Question from Tyler Fisher: was I just too high, or was Judgment Day the first glimpse most of us in the States got of EP content? Judgment Day. We syndicated down the west coast of the U.S. Our first stations were American. We launched on in Bellingham, in our area here on KVOS. We had a Seattle affiliate. We had a Portland affiliate. We had a San Francisco station, KBHK in San Francisco. We had an LA station. So that was the first time. Those were the first markets that we got, and then we sold into Canada. And so we launched season 1, and Americans were watching the show. But our first network was Discovery Science. We were a digital cable network partner in 2001, and all of that changed because of the 9/11 terror attacks. the whole sort of infrastructure of Discovery changed, and everything changed in the world. But those terror attacks also changed our relationship with Discovery at that time. They just shifted course. And then G4 happened, and G4 liked my idea for Reviews on the Run as a TV show, but they wanted to call it Judgment Day. And so that was the first thing that we launched with them. We got a 6-episode order from them. We made 6 episodes, and we got more, and then we got more, and then we just kept growing and growing from there.
Portable device
No,
detected.
no, we don't, Blake. Question, KFXG, is it more challenging to do the show now than it was early on? Different challenge. Now it's, I love this format. I think this is super fun. I love that I'm chatting with you guys, and we're streaming out live, and we're having guests and all that stuff. It's a different challenge. It's a little bit more like we set everything up and then we go. And the way that we produce the edited pieces is we go off with a tiny little bit of kit, we shoot it, and then we put it together, and that takes time as well.
Entering safe area.
It's all been fun, all of it, and I'm constantly learning, and that's why I love doing what I do. But you know what? It is time for, and one more question. Considering the whole Sessler talk today, how were your interactions with him in the past? Always very positive with Adam Sessler. He's been on our shows in the past. I've done things with him in the past. We were both, network mates on G4. He didn't have the best of time there, but we did. We had a great time. We were an external partner, and we had a great, long, healthy relationship with those guys. But he's super passionate and articulate and funny, and he's a good dude. And I've always enjoyed my time with him. We actually had him on a Vic's Basement podcast, audio only, which I think you can listen to on iTunes. I think it's probably still archived up there, and he was terrific. But that's going to do it for us today, you guys. Did you have fun?
Yeah, a lot of fun. Yeah, it was a lot of
Pretty
fun.
cool game,
It's
right?
a pretty cool game.
Yeah, I'll be playing a little bit more of this, I think, this weekend. But I'm also playing Far Cry and Crackdown 3. So some reviews of those things coming up,
Nice.
and more Wargroove as well. That's it for today, and thank you all for watching. Thank you for coming here,
Thank you,
Warren.
thank you.
Thanks for coming back.
Nice to meet
we're,
you.
we're back on Monday with another brand new EP live for you, and my guest, 2 guests actually, 2 team members that worked on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And we're going to talk about that phenomenal film and all of the awards it's been collecting, deservedly so, and the making of it. I cannot freaking wait. It's also my birthday on Monday. So it's kind of this cool birthday present that I get to talk. 21 years old for the 3rd time. No, I'm going to have a phenomenal day talking with people that made one of my favorite things of the last 10 years. I freaking love that movie.
It's a great movie.
It's so
Good
good,
movie,
right?
yeah.
So please come back for that. In the meantime, check out all the other content that we've got on the channel. If you dig our stuff, if hit subscribe, hit like. Comment below if you're watching the archive of this. You can join and become an EPN member and support the show that way. There's lots of merch that you can check out as well at epn.tv/merch. And we can't wait to see you again. If you do have the time to come on down to 390 West Hastings in Vancouver, please come and join our live audience or watch the stream. We'll be back at 3 p.m. Pacific time on Monday. Until then, play forever.